On to Australia now, following the horror that unfolded at one of its most iconic beaches. Gunmen opened fire as hundreds celebrated Hanukkah, leaving the entire world shocked. And now, as Australia tries to pick up the pieces, it's also looking at a crackdown on hate speech. In fact, the Australian Prime Minister has promised a crackdown on hate speech in the wake of that attack. The Home Affairs Minister reportedly will be given new powers to cancel or refuse visas for those who spread hate. And a new task force reportedly will be set up to ensure the education system prevents, tackles, and properly responds to anti-Semitism. Let's just break this down further. The Australian Prime Minister has said the government will seek to introduce legislation that makes it easier to charge people promoting hate speech and violence. He said penalties would be increased, cancelling or refusing visas would be made easier, and a regime for targeting organizations whose leaders engage in hate speech would be developed. Expressing his anger while announcing the reforms, the leader said new laws will target those who spread hate, division, and radicalization. The government has said it has consistently denounced anti-Semitism over the last 2 years. It passed legislation to criminalize hate speech, and in August, it expelled the Iranian ambassador after accusing Tehran of directing 2 anti-Semitic arson attacks in Sydney and Melbourne. But anti-Semitic incidents are mounting. In fact, a 19-year-old Sydney man was charged and will face court after allegedly threatening violence towards a Jewish person on a flight from Bali to Sydney. Police say the Sydney attack was carried out by Sajid Akram and his 24-year-old son, Naveed. Sajid was shot dead by the police at the scene, while Naveed Akram was charged with 59 offences, including murder and terror charges. His case has been adjourned until April 2026. In fact, the leader of New South Wales, where the attack took place, has said he would next week recall the state parliament to pass urgent reforms on gun laws. Police looking into Australia-based Islamic State networks, as well as the gunmen's alleged links to militants in the Philippines, reportedly. The White House is meant to preserve history, but under Donald Trump, it seems it is now rewriting it with insults. In an unprecedented move, President Trump has installed new plaques reportedly inside the White House that openly attack his Democratic predecessors, Joe Biden and Barack Obama, turning one of America's most iconic institutions into a stage for personal grievance, it seems. Journalists given access to a part of the White House this week reportedly noticed newly placed plaques beneath the official portraits of former presidents. And they noticed that the language was striking and inflammatory. Just have a look at these visuals. Under Joe Biden's name, the plaque calls him, quoting, by far the worst president in American history, quote unquote. It also repeats Donald Trump's false claim that the 2020 election was stolen, a claim that he continues to talk about even though it has been rejected by the courts, election officials, and also Trump's own administration officials. In fact, this move follows an earlier controversy when Donald Trump replaced former President Biden's portrait with an image of an auto pen. A not-so-subtle reference to Trump's claim that Biden was too senile to govern. under Barack Obama's portrait. The plaque describes America's first black president as, I'm quoting, one of the most divisive political figures in American history, quote unquote. And the inscription also includes Obama's middle name, echoing Trump's earlier conspiracy theories about Obama's legitimacy and birthplace. And of course, the contrast is sharp when it comes to Trump's own plaque. It praises achievements critics say are exaggerated or unverifiable, including claims of ending 8 conflicts in 8 months and attracting trillions of dollars in investment. Fact checkers saying those numbers do not stand up to scrutiny. Now, these plaques are only the latest change inside the White House since Trump's return to office. A lot has happened. The East Wing has been completely torn down to make way for a lavish new ballroom. And as we've been telling you, gold accents now dominate the Oval Office, portraits of Trump himself hanging on the walls, breaking the long-standing tradition that presidents display their image only after leaving office. Trump supporters say, and they see it as transparency, but critics are calling it vindictiveness. But historians at the same time are warning that this marks a deeper shift from preserving presidential legacy to weaponizing it. In today's job market, finding the right role can feel a lot like chasing a mirage sometimes. Just when you think you've spotted that perfect opportunity, it disappears. That is because for many job seekers, it was never real to begin with. And these are called ghost jobs. What exactly are they? They are vacancies that appear very real, posted on company websites, job portals, social media platforms, for example, complete with the job requirements, descriptions, skill requirements, even the salary ranges. But behind all of that, behind that polished listing, there is no real intent to hire. Why put out such a post then? The term may sound like something from Halloween, but this is a very real and growing problem. It's happening on both sides of the Atlantic. Studies showing just how widespread this has actually become. A report across the US, UK and Germany found that up to 22% of online job ads last year had no real intention of leading to a hire. A separate UK study put that number even higher at 34%. In the US, labor market is cooling. Official data showing job openings dropped to about 7.18 million in July, the lowest level in 10 months. But then here's the catch. Fresh analysis suggesting more than a quarter of those jobs may not even exist. According to career website, 27.4% of US job listings on LinkedIn are likely ghost jobs. Basically, posts with no actual plan to fill up that role. But then why would companies do this? Companies post ghost jobs for a variety of reasons. Some are building a talent pool, collecting resumes for future use. Others could be doing it just to create hype, making the business appear to be growing or thriving. And in some cases, it's purely market research testing. What skills are out there? Who is available, who is not, how much they cost. These are also internal policy issues. And of course, sometimes it's just human error. In fact, job seekers should be able to protect themselves, but how do they do that? You could be watching out for a lack of specific details, also vague responsibilities, unclear reporting lines. Also be cautious of the jobs that are continuously reposted month after month with no updates. Also pay attention to a lack of a structured hiring process, no follow-ups, no interviews, and no clear timelines as such. In fact, the damage caused by ghost jobs is rather significant. And it cuts both ways. For job seekers, ghost jobs could erode trust, also waste their time, and create emotional fatigue. For companies, they could damage the brand reputation, weaken the credibility of HR departments, and also create internal morale issues when employees see roles advertised that don't actually exist out there. As ghost jobs continue to haunt the hiring process, both employers and platforms are under growing pressure to clean up the system. So the next time you see vacancies, do not forget to ask questions and also watch out, because your dream job may not be real. To stay up to speed with the latest news, download the WION app and subscribe to our YouTube channel.